Welcome to the Health Collective, your go-to channel for all things health and wellness. Today, we're discussing an important topic: foods to avoid when you have stomach ulcers. Stomach ulcers, also known as gastric ulcers, are painful sores in the stomach lining. What you eat can play a significant role in how these ulcers form, heal, or become more severe. That's why it's essential to understand which foods can potentially harm your stomach lining. In this video, we will be discussing 10 specific foods that you might want to limit or avoid if you're dealing with stomach ulcers. These foods range from the obvious culprits like spicy foods and alcohol, to the less obvious ones such as certain dairy products, chocolate, and even peppermint. Each food item has its own set of reasons for why it can exacerbate stomach ulcers, and we'll be delving into each one of them. Stay tuned as we delve into each of these foods and explain why they can exacerbate stomach ulcers. First on our list is spicy foods. Spicy foods can be a delightful explosion of flavors on your taste buds, but when it comes to stomach ulcers, they're not exactly your best friend. The heat and intensity of these foods can irritate the stomach lining, causing discomfort and potentially worsening ulcer symptoms. Picture this: a protective layer in your stomach shields it from the strong stomach acid that breaks down your food. But with a stomach ulcer, this layer is damaged, leaving the underlying tissue exposed. Now add some spicy foods to the mix and it's like pouring salt on a wound, quite literally inflaming the situation. And it's not just about the heat. Even foods with mild spice levels can trigger discomfort. So while it might be tough to resist that spicy curry or sizzling fajita, if you're dealing with stomach ulcers, it's best to keep the spice levels down. It's all about finding that balance, prioritizing health over heat. If you're dealing with stomach ulcers, it's best to keep the spice levels down. Next up, we have citrus fruits. These brightly colored fruits are often hailed for their high vitamin C content and refreshing taste. However, if you have stomach ulcers, you might want to reconsider reaching for that orange or lemon. Why, you ask? Well, citrus fruits are naturally high in citric acid. When consumed, this can trigger your stomach to produce more gastric acid. If you have an ulcer, this excess acid can irritate it, potentially leading to more pain and discomfort. So think oranges, lemons, limes, grapefruits, and even certain berries. While they're packed with beneficial nutrients, their high acid content can spell trouble for an inflamed stomach lining. It's a bit of a bummer, I know. But remember, everyone's body reacts differently. Some people may find they can tolerate small amounts of citrus. It's all about listening to your body and finding what works best for you. While they're usually healthy, citrus fruits might not be the best choice for those with stomach ulcers. Alcohol is another big no-no for ulcer sufferers. Now, why is that? Well, alcohol, especially in large amounts and over a prolonged period, can erode the protective lining of your stomach. This lining serves as a defense mechanism, shielding your stomach from the very acid it produces to break down food. When this lining is compromised, it leaves your stomach vulnerable to the damaging effects of this acid. And for someone already dealing with ulcers, this can exacerbate the situation, leading to increased discomfort and even bleeding. Whether it's beer, wine, or spirits, alcohol is just not friendly to your stomach when you're dealing with ulcers. It's not about being a party pooper, it's about giving your body the best chance to heal. So, if you're battling with stomach ulcers, it might be the perfect time to take a break from the booze and give your stomach a chance to recover. It's advisable to avoid alcohol if you're experiencing stomach ulcers. Coffee lovers, you might not like this. But it's crucial to understand that coffee, particularly caffeinated brews, can be a bit of a troublemaker for those dealing with stomach ulcers. Coffee, whether it's a piping hot espresso or your favorite cold brew, contains caffeine. This caffeine has a stimulating effect on your stomach, increasing the production of acid. Now, why is this a problem? Well, excessive acid can further irritate the stomach lining, which is already inflamed if you have an ulcer. This can exacerbate the discomfort and potentially slow down the healing process. It's not just the caffeine, though. Even decaffeinated coffee can increase acid production due to other compounds present in it. However, you don't have to give up your comforting cup entirely. Try switching to decaf or even better, herbal teas. They can offer a warm, soothing alternative without the potential harm to your stomach lining. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate enjoyment, but to find balance. Try switching to decaf or herbal teas if you have stomach ulcers. High-fat foods are also on our list. Now, when we say high-fat foods, we're talking about fried foods, fatty cuts of meat, whole milk dairy products, and rich desserts. These foods are not only high in calories, but are also known to stimulate the stomach to produce more acid. So, how does this relate to stomach ulcers? Well, an excess amount of stomach acid can exacerbate the pain and discomfort associated with ulcers. This happens because the acid works on the open sores that ulcers cause, irritating them and making the pain worse. Furthermore, high-fat foods can slow down digestion, causing food to stay in your stomach longer. This, in turn, can increase acid production even more, setting up a vicious cycle of discomfort. So what's the solution? It's simple. Opt for low-fat options. Choose lean cuts of meat, low-fat dairy products, and try to limit your intake of fried foods and rich desserts. Remember, opt for low-fat options when dealing with stomach ulcers. Processed foods are another category to watch out for. These are foods that have been altered in some way from their natural state, usually for convenience or longevity. This group includes everything from your favorite chips to canned vegetables, and unfortunately, they're not doing your stomach any favors. The trouble with processed foods is twofold. First, they often contain high levels of salt. While our bodies need a certain amount of sodium to function properly, too much can lead to dehydration and, you guessed it, an irritated stomach lining. Second, processed foods are typically packed with preservatives. These chemicals are used to enhance flavor and extend shelf life, but they can cause inflammation in the stomach, particularly in those with ulcers. So what's the solution? The key is to aim for fresh, whole foods instead. By doing so, you'll not only be avoiding the pitfalls of processed foods, but also providing your body with the nutrients it needs to heal and thrive. Aim for fresh, whole foods instead. Some dairy products can also exacerbate ulcer symptoms. You might be surprised by this one, as dairy has often been seen as a soothing food. But the truth is a little more complicated. While it's true that milk can temporarily buffer stomach acid, the fat content in dairy products can stimulate the stomach to produce more acid. This can aggravate an existing ulcer. In particular, full-fat dairy products such as whole milk, butter, and cheese can cause problems. This is because they're high in fat, a known trigger for stomach acid production. These foods, when consumed in large amounts, can exacerbate the symptoms of a stomach ulcer. What about low-fat dairy? Well, it's a better choice, but moderation is still key. Remember, even low-fat dairy can increase stomach acid if you consume too much. So, if you're dealing with stomach ulcers, it's best to limit your dairy intake. Choose your dairy carefully if you have stomach ulcers. Unfortunately, chocolate is on our list too. Now, I know this might be a hard pill to swallow for all you chocolate lovers out there, but bear with me. Chocolate, as delightful as it may be, can actually stimulate acid production in our stomachs. This happens because chocolate contains a fair amount of caffeine and other stimulants such as theobromine, which are known to cause our stomach to produce more acid. This increased acid production can then irritate the stomach lining. If you're already dealing with stomach ulcers, this irritation can exacerbate the problem, leading to more discomfort and prolonging the healing process. Now, this doesn't mean you need to cut chocolate out of your life completely. It's all about moderation. A small amount of chocolate occasionally is unlikely to cause significant harm. However, if you're in the midst of a flare-up, it might be best to limit your chocolate intake. If you're dealing with stomach ulcers. Lastly, we have peppermint. This soothing herb, often hailed for its calming effects, has a less-known side that could spell trouble for those with stomach ulcers. Peppermint, in all its forms, can relax the muscles of the stomach. While this might sound like a good thing, it's actually quite the opposite for those dealing with ulcers. Here's why. When the stomach muscles relax, it can lead to acid reflux. This is a condition where stomach acid flows back into the esophagus, causing heartburn and discomfort. For someone with an existing ulcer, this acid can further irritate the lining of the stomach, worsening the ulcers and slowing the healing process. So, while peppermint might be a great remedy for a stressful day or a minor headache, it's not the best friend for a troubled tummy. In conclusion, avoiding peppermint can be beneficial for those with stomach ulcers. So, you might want to rethink that peppermint tea or candy next time. So there you have it, the 10 foods to avoid when you have stomach ulcers. We've navigated through the fiery world of spicy foods, the acidic realm of citrus fruits, and the dehydrating desert of alcohol. We've sipped on the bitter truths about coffee and dug into the greasy details of high-fat foods. Our journey took us through the artificial landscapes of processed foods and the lactose-laden territory of certain dairy products. And surprisingly, we've even had to bid farewell to the sweet indulgence of chocolate and the cool comfort of peppermint. These foods might exacerbate your ulcer symptoms, so it's best to steer clear when you can. But remember, everyone's body reacts differently. And this is not a one-size-fits-all guide. Always consult with your healthcare provider when making dietary changes. Remember, your health is your wealth. Don't forget to subscribe to the Health Collective for more health tips and insights. Stay healthy.